Given that the rank correlation coefficient for 27 pairs of data is R of S equals 0.412, test the claim of no correlation between the two variables. Use a significance level of 0.01. Is your answer going to be A, critical values equal plus or minus 0.456? There does not appear to be a correlation between the variables. B, critical values equal 0.456 plus or minus, and there appears to be a correlation between the variables. C, critical values equal plus or minus 0.515, and there does not appear to be a correlation between the variables. D, critical values equal plus or minus 0.505, there does not appear to be a correlation between the variables. Or E, critical values equal plus or minus 0.505, there appears to be a correlation between the variables. Okay, it's asking us to test the claim of no correlation between the two variables. So let's write our hypotheses down. H of 0, our null, is going to be rho equals 0. There's no correlation. Or H1 rho does not equal 0, meaning there is correlation. Okay, the problem tells us our test statistic. So here's our test statistic. And it also tells us that our N is 27 and the significance level of 0.01. So we know that our test statistic is 0.412. And I'm just going to note that this is the test statistic, okay? Because that's going to be important. We don't need to be getting confused between the test statistic and the critical values when we go to compare. Because N is less than 30, we're going to use table A9, the critical value of Spearman's rank correlation coefficient, to find the critical value. So we know that N equals 27. So we're going to use the table. I have the table below here for us. N is 27, so we're looking at the area highlighted in yellow. Our significance level is 0.01. So we're going to want to use alpha is 0.01. And so that means the critical value is going to be plus or minus 0.505. So that's our critical value. All right. So if R of S, meaning the test statistic, is between the negative and positive critical values, you're going to fail to reject the null hypothesis, meaning there is no correlation. So you want to compare the values to get your conclusion. You want to compare your test statistic and your critical value. So Because your critical value is 0.505, there does not appear to be a correlation between the variables. So we're going to fail to reject the null hypothesis because R of S is between the negative and positive critical values. We should put plus or minus up here. So because R of S, the test statistic, 0.412 is between the negative and positive critical values, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Meaning there's no correlation. So let's look at our answers. It cannot be answer A because the critical value is not 0.456 plus or minus. It cannot be answer B because your critical value is not plus or minus 0.456. It cannot be answer C because we said the critical value is plus or minus 0.505 and answer C is saying it's 0.515. And let's see, answer D, critical value equals plus or minus 0.505. Yes, we agreed on that. There does not appear to be a correlation between the variables. We said there is no correlation. So it appears as if that one is correct. But let's check answer E. The critical values equals plus or minus 0.505. That's correct. There appears to be a correlation between the variables. We said there is no correlation. So the correct answer here is D. No correlation.